Hi guys, James from Twisted Assisted here. I thought I'd do a video today on strops, leather strops, and essentially how to make yourself a budget one. I was looking at prices online and at the sort of barber's shop style strops, which is like a belt which hangs on the wall, and some of them are going for big money. And I thought to myself, well, we can make our own and you don't have to spend the earth. So I thought I'd go through and just run through how I made this strop here. So this I've essentially made just out of a piece of 19 by 38 tile batten. Okay, so it's a scrap piece of wood, didn't cost me anything. And when I do my leather work, when I do my sheath making, I have a bag of offcuts, which I only throw away tiny pieces. You never know when they're going to come in handy. And so I cut my piece of tile batten. The size for this, it's not a paddle strop because it doesn't, it's not shaped sort of like a ping pong panel, but there's all sorts of different shapes that you can do. I prefer doing a narrower strop. Very, very good. I've got a twisted tulip here, and as you can see, if we offer that up, it does the length of the blade all in one go. But this is a fairly sort of simplistic blade profile. It's just one straight edge, so it's dead easy to sharpen up. With other knives, as say if you've got a drop point, when it starts to belly, obviously the angle changes. So if you've got a strop which is just as wide as your blade and you're stropping, you are still going to have to work on the tip and on the belly. You know, you can't do it all in one go because the leather is not in contact with all of the blade at the same time. So this knife I've done, this strop rather, is designed for sort of sub 3-inch knives. If I wanted to do larger knives, well, I'd use my other strop, which, here we go, there it is. Again, that's made out of tile batten. You can see I've only got about 2 mil of leather left on there, and then I'll have to replace it. But I use that slightly larger one for fixed blades. But this is just a very small size. You can see that I've just done a groove there. This is to allow us to just pinch it like that, hold it like that when we're stropping. So a little length of tile batten, just lightly chamfer the edges with some sandpaper, then offer it up to a scrap piece of leather and use the width of the tile batten as a template, cut it out and just cut it to size. The edges of the leather, I've just chamfered them, and then you glue it on. Make sure that the mating surfaces of the leather and the batten are dust free and clear of any debris. And what glue I tend to use is the Gorilla Glue Clear. This is a great big bottle. They do slightly smaller bottles. I find this is excellent for gluing leather as well as many other things. Super glue is not so good. It doesn't have the grab quality that this leather does. The only downside of using this leather is that you will have to clamp up the workpiece as it dries for a few hours. So cut your leather, offer it up, glue it. Less is more, just remember that with this glue. You can still see there's a shiny edge visible across here of the glue that squeezed out. You just want a little bit of glue squeezing out, and then you can either clamp it in a wood vise or several just sprung hand clamps like this. Leave it a few hours. I've drilled a hole in this end just to allow it to be hung from a hook or a peg, and that is it. Now, with regards to, I imagine there's quite a debate about which side of the leather to use. If we look at a piece of leather here, let's say this scrap offcut, you've got this nice finished smooth side, and then they call this the flesh side. And it really makes no difference, in my opinion. People will have their favorite ways of doing it, but either side will be effective as a strop. Okay, once it's all glued on there, then you can just give it maybe a final sand, get it nice and smooth. You can stain it, whatever you want to do. I mean, this is a pretty utilitarian strop, so I'm not going to go mad in embellishing it at all. And just to give you an example of how I strop, I'm sure everybody's got their own method, but the one similarity between all methods is that you are polishing the blade by going, you're not cutting down towards, you're always moving away from yourself. So that's one way, and then you come back the other way. Now, leather strops will work to a degree without honing paste, but honing paste does make a big difference. I recommend Smurf Poo. It's made in the UK. It really is amazing stuff. Not only does it polish, clean and protect, but it also is a really effective stropping compound. There are lots of microparticles of I think it's probably like powdered ceramic, and as you place some on the strop and begin stropping, then those particles are getting ground up smaller and smaller. So as you're stropping, you are getting a finer and finer and finer edge. Be very careful when you're stropping. You should use about a 20-degree angle, whatever you estimate the angle on your secondary bevel to be, or micro bevel, is to keep it at about an angle of 20 degrees and keep it constant. If you do this and you're waving around all over the place, the worst thing you can do is, as you're coming to the end, is to bring it up like that, because all you're doing is you're rounding over the blade, and that is not what you want. A convex grind is a very, very good grind, but you can overdo it by, as you're going one way, if you're rolling the blade over whilst in contact, you're literally taking off the edge and you're giving yourself too much of a shoulder either side. So just smooth and clean, maintaining the angle about 20 degrees, and then come back, and you just keep doing that, and you will actually, on your blade edge, you will see it gradually transforming, getting it shinier and shinier until you have actually got a mirror finish edge. Now, why, if you've you've sharpened your knife, say, using a whetstone or a ceramic rod system, whatever is your jam, why would you need to strop it? Well, a polished edge is a more durable edge. If you were to, say, get this sharp on a Spyderco sharp maker using the ultra fine rods, if you were to then be a total nerd and look under a microscope at the edge, it would be really, really ragged right the way across. And what happens is that ragged edge will deteriorate as you're using the knife. A polished edge will just makes it far more durable. The structures can't break off and degrade as you're using it, so it's less susceptible to erosion. And once you start stropping your knives, if you give them a strop every time you use it, you will probably find that you will not have to sharpen it and maintain the edges as often as you used to with your sharpening system, whichever sharpening system you use. So it's a real time saver in just getting used to, when you're putting away your knife, you finished using it, give it a strop, and it will just maintain that edge. And there's something very satisfying in having, an immensely sharp edge. I mean, there's sharp and there's scary sharp, and you can quite literally split hairs with this. So get creative, you know, pick a design. You can make the strop any length. Now I've used, this is 3.2mm veg tan leather. It was just an offcut from a leather project that I had, but you don't need to go out and buy leather for this. If you know, if you've ever had something made by a leather crafter, you know, give them a call, see if they've got some scrap offcuts, or even go to a charity shop and buy an old leather belt. You don't need to spend, you know, I've seen some strops for like 90 and £100. There really is no need to spend that kind of money. You can craft something for yourself. I've used tile batten here, but you could use, if you've got a decent piece of, say, 18mm 3/4 inch plywood, like marine ply or WPP ply, use that. It's going to be very, very decent to use. 18mm thick is substantial, and because it's plywood and each layer, each ply, they alternate the grain. So the first layer will be running that way, and then the next will be running that way, and that just builds up a really strong structure that doesn't warp. So if you're going to make yourself, say, a larger paddle strop, then plywood really is the way to go with that. Anybody can do this, make this for yourself in a few minutes, and it just really helps. Use stropping compound. There's all kinds of compounds out there. There's even diamond paste you can buy, but you don't need to spend the earth. Like I say, Smurf poo is really good stuff to use. That's what I tend to use. But the company is in the process of being sold, so supply is limited. Just a quick word on cleaning your strop, because if you're using stropping paste, you are going to get a black build-up. It will start to go shiny, and the effectiveness of the strop is impaired. So the worst thing you can do is to wash it with water, because when you get leather wet, it shrinks when it dries out. So you want to get isopropyl alcohol and just get a blunt knife, like a butter knife, and soak the strop in isopropyl alcohol and just gently sort of do the stropping motions using quite firm pressure actually with the butter knife, and you will get a black runoff which will pull. Do that a few times and you have sort of unclogged the pores of all of the spent stropping compound, and just let that dry naturally. It'll dry because it's alcohol, it'll evaporate very quickly, and you are ready to go again. All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will catch you all later.